When I was rocking my son to sleep, he spilled some of his baby protein shake on my shirt. Put my microphone there. If you can still see the stain, just pretend like it's not even there. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. My name is Leslie. I am a mom, a teacher, and a lover of books. Today's video is going to be a discussion about all of the books that I read in November. So welcome to Bookmas Day 3, and let's get right on into today's video. I don't remember exactly what order I started reading these books in, so we're just going to do our best. But I do know that the very first book that I read this month was called Fall I Want by Lyra Parrish. And let me just start by saying that I really assumed that I was going to be a holiday romance book girly because I love a cheesy Hallmark movie during the holidays. But I find that these books I'm not rating very high at all. This one in particular follows Autumn and Zane, and he is some millionaire rich guy, and she is working in this small town. Basically, this follows these two and their whirlwind romance. Now, let me start by saying, I really struggled because she was so offended by some of the things that he did. And I said, girl, you literally broke into his house. From there, he had the right to do whatever he wanted. And I would be like, okay, because she broke into his house. Anyways, this one wasn't terrible. I rated it like 3 stars. It was a good, cheesy time. I do wish that there were more fall-esque experiences. Basically, he just kept calling her pumpkin, and they had a lot of pumpkin references, but I felt like we could have done more. They did in the beginning a really good job of doing a lot of cozy fall activities, but then towards the end, like once their relationship actually started, their cute fall dates kind of went on the back burner. And then the only fall type things that we were getting was him calling her pumpkin. So I wish that we got more of the fall activities, and I would have rated this book higher. It's good for a holiday romance. I would definitely recommend. It's one of the better ones, but I wouldn't still say that it's like great. I would say it's good. So 3 stars is what that means for me. So 3 stars for Fall I Want by Lyra Parrish. The next book that I read was People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young, and I also assumed that this book was going to be giving fall based off of the cover. Now, the back, I'm not convinced that it gives that vibe, but I went into this with expectations that it was going to be a cute fall romance, and it wasn't. I didn't like this book. There were many times throughout that I was wanting to DNF it, and I just kept pushing because I know that everybody loves Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. So I was like, maybe it'll get better, but I was just not obsessed with this romance. And he had over 200 encounters with partners, and she had 0 encounters with partners. And to me, the dynamic just didn't work. I didn't feel the chemistry, didn't feel the romance. So this one, I should have DNF'd. I gave it a 1.5 to 2 star. I was still really debating which I wanted to do, because I do think that if you could look past the dynamic, that it could be cute. If you weren't expecting a fall holiday Hallmark romance, you might like it. But for me, my expectations were just not met, and that could be my fault, but it also is pretty short, just over 300 pages, and I still felt like it was dragging. So I gave this one like 1.75, we'll call it, stars, but usually I only do half-star ratings. So 1 star is I should have DNF'd, 2 is like it wasn't for me, somewhere in between there. The next one was an audiobook that I actually listened to, The Christmas Tree Farm by Lori Gilmore. I did not like Pumpkin Spice Cafe at all. That one I did rate a 1 star. I should have DNF'd it. It was not good. It didn't get any better. But this one, I really did enjoy. I gave this one like a 3.5 stars, so it's good for a holiday romance. I really liked the ending. I thought that the third act conflict was reasonable, and I thought that it was so stinking cute. So I loved this one. I listened to it as an audiobook, and I would recommend. If you didn't like Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I would still say maybe try this one because the vibes are different, and I thoroughly enjoyed all of the Christmas-esque activities that we were getting. I liked this one a lot. I listened to Christmas with a Crank. So this one, we are following Liam and Olive, and I thought that I was going to really like this one because he does not like Christmas. He's a video game designer from Indiana, and she is like the small town artsy gal, and they were childhood best friends, and I thought that this was going to be so cute and so great because I am a sucker for a childhood best friends. I am a sucker for all things Hallmark, and Christmas with a Crank, hello, I thought that it was going to be so cute. The beginning really was. She is in charge of trying to keep Liam's family's Christmas tree farm festive for one more year. They're going to be selling the farm after the end of the season. So Liam's family goes to Olive and is like, hey girl, can you help us with some advertising and make this the best Christmas yet? And she's like, absolutely. So now they are working together, and she was like, you know what? I know that Liam doesn't like it, but I am really going to try to get him to feel the way that the rest of his family feels about the farm with this last one. So they do all of these activities on the Christmas farm. They do all of these activities that remind them of when they were little. And all of those things sound like that it's a recipe for something that I liked. And I did like it up until about 75% of the way through. Then it just felt like it was dragging. The third act issue I thought was kind of immature, and I felt like that we could have ended the book a lot earlier than we did. It's still just over 300 pages, so it's not even that long, but I felt like that it was dragging. That could also be that I am not a huge audiobook person, so that could also be me not giving the book a fair enough chance. But that being said, it wasn't my favorite. The next book that I read was also a holiday romance, and it was called The Bright Side of Christmas. And this was a Kindle Unlimited read, so I will pop a picture up on the screen. I don't quite remember who it's by, but this one I was so excited to read because the cover was so stinking cute. It's the first in a new series, and I don't read the backs of books typically before I buy them. Most of my recommendations come from social media influencers and Goodreads recommendations. This one was solely based on the cover. This was a cover read, and I wish that I read the back because when you start reading it, I assumed that this was going to be a book about Ren, the main character, making, I can't remember his name, but the MMC, whatever his name is, I thought that it was going to be about her trying to get the MMC to like Christmas because he doesn't. He is a songwriter who is in a writing slump. Love that trope. Basically, his biggest hit was a Christmas song, and he doesn't want to be seen as just a Christmas music composer. He wants to be a true songwriter. And I thought that this was going to be a book about her trying to get him to enjoy Christmas, and it wasn't that at all. It was about how she is the world's biggest people pleaser, and he is trying to get her to start taking care of herself more. And that description of the book is on the blurb on the back. So if I would have just read the blurb, I would have known that this book was not for me. But it got super repetitive. It got a little bit unbelievable. And they were breaking into each other's houses again. And in my head, I'm like, what is up with holiday romances and people breaking into each other's houses? Because in reality, you would get arrested. I'm sorry. And then you got the Grinch, like the typical Grinch movie. He breaks into people's houses and steals a bunch of stuff, and nothing happens. I don't know whether there's no repercussions in holiday romances when people break into each other's houses. But this one, I would give 2 stars. I personally didn't love it. Like, it was holiday-esque, but like they weren't really doing holiday themes. It was like Ren was doing holiday things and he was trying to talk her out of it. So personally, I wish that it was more of her trying to get him interested in Christmas, but she didn't really care about how he felt about Christmas one way or another. And I wish that that was a bigger part of the book. So I could see how some people would like it if they read the back of the book and they were like, oh, people pleaser, I relate, I'm going to read it. But it wasn't for me. And that's what my 2-star ratings are for. The next book that I read was also a Kindle Unlimited book, and I still don't quite know how I would rate it. And this was the first book in the Legacy of God series. I read God of Malice by Raina Kent. And this was a book that I read because I was so sick of holiday cheesy romances that I needed something on the completely opposite end of the spectrum. So I went with the dark romance. I don't read a ton of dark romance, but usually in dark romance novels, I don't mind the dark things that I read. But this one had non-con in it, and it wasn't just once, it wasn't just twice, and I don't know that I can root for the couple when all of that was happening. I truly felt icky reading it, and after it starts becoming more consensual, I enjoyed it more, but the beginning was so hard for me to look past that I was like, girl, what are you doing? This is so toxic. This is not safe. This is literally insane. And in the front of the book, like, I don't know if it was the dedications, a trigger warning page or something, but Raina Kent said, don't go into this expecting a fluffy romance. There is non-con in it. And our man in this book is not just morally gray, he is morally black. He has no morals. Absolutely none. He is a true psychopath, like literally a true psychopath. And like, it was really hard for me to get through the first part of the book. The second half, I did really enjoy, which is why I'm debating on 3 stars. But the beginning was so icky that it made it hard for me to root for the couple, that I was like, should it be considered good, or should it be not for me? Should it be 2.5? I think that would make the most sense for my rating scale. I am interested to see what the next book is going to look like with these next 2 characters, because he doesn't seem like a true psychopath. So I would be curious to see if I would like it a little bit more than the first one, but that's my thoughts on that one. The last book that I finished in November was the Mind F series by St. Abbey. And this is a series of 5 little novellas, and this is the back. She's stunning. Basically, we have our FMC, and I'm going to put it down because she's a thick boy. So basically, we have our main character. Her name is Lana, and she is a serial unaliver, and she is trying to revenge, unalive, a list of people from her past. I convinced my mom to start reading this series, and she is also loving it. I have went back and forth on what I want to rate this book a lot because I thoroughly could not put it down. I read this on my trip back home from Indiana, and I could not stop reading it. It was so good. The plot is definitely a 5-star plot, but if you are trying to truly rate this, the author, St. Abbey, and this is a pen name, that's not her actual name, but St. Abbey, because if you just read it, it spells stabby. She does not do a great job of describing things visually. It reads just like a Criminal Minds episode if it met Dexter. Like, it's Criminal Minds meets Dexter, and you get one of the best plots to any book I've ever read. And this is, again, following Lana through her activities. And the MMC is an FBI profiler, just like on Criminal Minds, that is working on her case. And I think that it's so funny because there are little quotes that kind of reference Criminal Minds, and I love that. You have the tech analysts, just like you have Penelope. You have the main profiler falling in love. Kind of reminded me of Derek Morgan. He doesn't look like Derek Morgan, like, you know, that he's a blonde and like tall white male, but he's a blonde that I don't hate. Yes, his name is Logan. And you also have, I don't know, it's so much more complex than that, but the best way that I can describe it is Criminal Minds meets Dexter, and out popped a beautiful book. I thought that this was so brilliantly done. And again, it is in 5 short novellas. So as I was explaining to my mom, thinking about my rating, I was like, I think that this is definitely a 5-star plot. No doubt in my mind. I cried, I giggled, I was rooting for the main character. I was rooting for both of the main characters, and I fell in love with the side characters. There's definitely a found family element in there, but because they are such short novellas, if you rate them each individually, I think that it would be rated lower because there's only so much you can do with a novella. But if you rate it as a whole, I would feel comfortable to say that this is like a 4.5 because it is missing just a few of those key details. Like, I'm still not completely sure what Lana looks like, and I don't really know what Jake, he's another character in there, looks like. I don't really know what Hadley looks like. She's another character. Like, I don't know what these characters look like, but I was truly just envisioning them as different characters from Criminal Minds or Dexter, so it didn't bother me too much. But that's my opinion on that. Now, the last book that I started but I did not finish in November, I am actually currently reading it, is The Right Move by Liz Tomford, following Ryan and Indy's story. And I love this book so much. But for my final thoughts, you will have to wait until December's wrap up in the beginning of January. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for more Bookmas content. My next video will be up in 2 days' time. So thank you so much for watching. Those were all of the books that I read in November. So I read a total of like 6.25 books, which is really good for me. Usually I read about 5. I thought that I read some more, so I might have been missing some, but 6.25. which is pretty good because usually I only read 5, and the Mind F series was a little bit longer than usual. I also dabbled with some audiobooks, which makes me really happy. But yes, so in total, I read Christmas with a Crank, The Bright Side of Christmas, Christmas Tree Farm, People Watching, Fall I Want, the Mind F series, and a little bit of The Right Move. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, drop me a snowflake emoji in the comments below for December. I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Please like and comment and subscribe to my channel. It helps so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.